Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, forgive me if I seem distracted. I've been preoccupied of late with questions of morality. Of right and wrong, good and evil. Sometimes the delineation between the two is a sharp line. Sometimes it's a blur. And often it's like pornography. You just know when you see it.
Matthew Michael Murdock, the ultimate oxymoron, a man who upholds the law by being a lawyer, but is a vigilante by night, a man who is Catholic and God-fearing, but also uses violence in the garb of the devil. Daredevil is a character that has stood the test of time almost definitely due to these contradictions, as these questions keep him up at night to ponder what he inspires in the world, and if he brings true justice to Hell's Kitchen, his relationships, or to himself. For what does morality mean to a man capable of such violence? To illustrate this inner conflict that Matt must grasp every day, I'll be using the Frank Miller run of the character, where Daredevil facing a harsher, filthy city and morally gray people is showcased. Specifically using Daredevil issues 168, 181 to 184, 191, and The Man Without Fear issue 3, with the three characters that test his morals: Punisher, Elektra, and Bullseye.
When you called to sit down, I thought you were ready to see sense.
On, man, I didn't call this bullshit. You did.
What are you smoking? I didn't call. Oh, you want to dance? Is that what this is?
I'll dance with you.
Frank Castle is a mental study all on his own, a war vet with a wife and kids who were gunned down in a park, with a corrupt justice system letting the perpetrators go free. This would lead Frank to take the law into his own hands, being judge, jury, and executioner as the Punisher. The first time we see Frank in the Miller run is when he goes up to Bullseye to give him info on the Kingpin having a new assassin on his payroll. When asked by Bullseye why he does this, he gives the simple response: chances are you'll do something dumb, get yourself killed. I'd like that. This man who would allow a psychopathic killer to break out in the hope that he'll die in his pursuits tells you what he is and how he's everything Matt isn't. The true big arc he's a part of is 183 to 184, where the Punisher, after killing a child who was pushing drugs, comes to Hell's Kitchen to stop the people who orchestrated it. Matt defends a child named Billy, who was accused of killing one of the dealers that sold to his sister who died, bringing him into contact with the Punisher and blatantly stating his opinion on him. Whether you kill innocents or criminals, it's murder, and that makes us enemies, Punisher. Something I realized with this two-part story is the moral debate of killing between Daredevil and Punisher is next to non-existent, with no moment of them debating their ethics in a depthful manner akin to the Netflix show, but rather the debate is occurring through Billy, the child who lost his family due to a harsh, unforgiving world, with Punisher and Matt being the two sides that he could succumb to, believe in the system, that it works, and that vigilantism isn't the answer, or be consumed by the hate and the loss and bring vengeance disguised as justice. Matt throughout pleads with Billy to believe in the law. However, that same system fails when Matt is tricked into defending the main drug pusher, Hogman, believing his innocence and letting him go free. This only spirals Billy further into becoming disillusioned, much like Frank Castle. In 184, the cover promises a Daredevil unhinged, tired of upholding the law or any idea that he should follow it, as he holds a gun in his hand with the line, "No more Mr. Nice Guy." However, in the comic we see Matt, who after failing Billy through conventional means, uses Daredevil to finally put an end to Hogman and the Punisher. The ending of the story shows Matt and Billy on the court steps, with Matt giving the kids something more realistic and genuine. The understanding that sometimes people make mistakes, can be evil, and that the law doesn't work all the time. But despite these imperfections, the law is still the system they have to depend on. Not a triumphant moral victory that killing is wrong or that the courts will serve justice, but a melancholic end of a boy walking alone in a world that has failed him time and again. With Matt watching on, potentially being seen as him wondering if he believes what he just said. The Punisher and Daredevil had more explosive confrontations or endings to their feud, but this one is the most real as we're left to choose in an imperfect world.
Elektra.
Hello, Matthew.
Elektra Natchios, the love of Matt Murdock's life, sorry to every other woman who is dead or depressed due to Matt Murdock, was invented for this run and causes the most lapses in judgment in how he treats his friends and his girlfriend, compromising who he is to give in to his thrill-seeking primal urges. They broke the whole bed, man. The Greek daughter of a diplomat, Matt was attracted the moment he, sensed her. When they finally got together, they were a disaster for everyone that wasn't them. They were both attracted to each other for being without fear, spending long nights in the gymnasium doing death-defying gymnastics. The text stating their sweat mixed, bodies and hearts as one. The passion would lead to Matt shirking his college education, as he wouldn't pay attention in class, and that passion would blind him to what Elektra truly was. a killer who enjoyed it. Someone with her demons, her devil. Meanwhile, Elektra saw what Matt strived to be, a better person despite his demons, something she couldn't achieve herself. As the issue ends, it recollects how Elektra leaving was punishment for him letting his wild part out, for breaking the rules. A Matthew Murdock tethered to Elektra is a man untethered to his morality, and that's a scary prospect. When Elektra returned to his life, now an assassin and an enemy of Daredevil, the passion between them only reignited. She would help Matt when his powers were on the fritz and spare his friend, Foggy Nelson, despite being contracted to kill him. After her death, Matt's psyche went into disarray as he claimed she was still alive with no evidence. He ruined business for the law firm and would even compromise his stance as Daredevil when he went to Fisk, demanding that he tell him where Elektra is, threatening violence. Kingpin would even call this out. But worst of all, and a sign that when it comes to Elektra his morals are in question, is how he treats his girlfriend Heather Glenn. Their relationship, already off and on due to their conflicting lifestyles, becomes more toxic and manipulative. Matt dismissed her, degraded her, and then proposed to her, all in an attempt to distract himself from the death of Elektra. That isn't just, it's not moral, and the book doesn't paint it to be. In Miller's world, our heroes are victims of poor decisions and flawed judgment. Currently, Elektra is back and has taken on the mantle of Daredevil. She is finally fighting the devil within herself that wants to kill and be a monster, because her love for Matt is so great. Through Matt Murdock, she gained a sense of justice and must face the same fight Matt does every night, but neither has to do it alone anymore.
I said let
Never would have understood. Fashion yourself into something the world would tolerate.
It's just you.
Punishes people like you, like us. The real you.
Lester, Poindexter, Leonard. The origins and true name of the super assassin known as Bullseye are mysteries outside of a baseball career that ended short due to him throwing a ball hard enough to kill the batter. While Punisher is Daredevil's antithesis in heroic ethics, Bullseye is the antithesis to everything Matt Murdock tries to hold on to. While Daredevil is caring, Bullseye is cruel. Where Daredevil has a strict no-kill rule, Bullseye kills because he can. In 169, under the effects of his brain tumor, Bullseye hallucinates that every citizen is a Daredevil, and kills random people on the street one after the other. Throughout the issue, the discussion of whether Daredevil should let Bullseye succumb to his tumor and die is brought up, with him stating, "Any death is a loss." Their battle ends with him and Bullseye in a subway tunnel. The tracks rumble with an oncoming subway as Bullseye lies unconscious, and Daredevil exhausted. He can just leave Bullseye there to be run over. He has every excuse to do so, and he admits his hatred for him. However, Matt is a man filled with moral will who overcomes any physical pain, and he saves Bullseye anyway. Nick Manolis, a New York cop, tells Daredevil at the end that if Bullseye survives the operation, every death is his fault. Daredevil was left with no answer, walking off into the uncertainty of his action. With this decision, the death of Elektra would soon come, a woman who allowed Matt to let go of the pretense that he is a moral man. The hypocrisy of Daredevil comes into play as he uses the law and structure of society as a reason not to kill Bullseye. However, as a man who wears a mask and operates outside the law to bring his view of justice, what truly stops him from ending the threat of Bullseye once and for all? Issue 191, the final issue in the continuous Miller run, answers that question. In the story titled Roulette, Matt sits with a paralyzed Bullseye, playing the Russian roulette game by shooting the gun for Bullseye as his whole body is paralyzed. The act of him doing this while Bullseye is caged within his own body is a sense of torture, once again showing the shaky morality from Matt that the entire Miller run has tested. The first page gives us an image that feels unnatural and filled with weight as Daredevil holds the revolver to his temple. The feeling comes from us knowing who Matt is, a man who will continue fighting even when everything says he should quit. To see Matt in harsh shading, looking grim as if he's about to end it, it's a strong hook. Daredevil narrates the entire issue, not even telling Bullseye the reason he's playing this game, making this one-sided conversation feel more deep and personal, along with their lack of detail of their surroundings. He narrates the story of Chucky, a kid obsessed with the tape of Daredevil and Bullseye fighting. Once again, Miller tells a story of morality where two characters with opposing views don't collide with each other, but through a little boy's perception of what they represent is the true battle. He wonders if when Chucky pulled the gun on his school bully, it was his influence, showing that punching people until the world is just is the right way to do things? Or was it Bullseye's influence, a representation of having strength, which means you can use it however you like? Or was it Chucky's father, a man who he admired, turning into the criminal his hero would defeat? What Matt inspires and if what he truly does brings justice lingers as he thinks about what inspired him to become a lawyer and what he strives to be as Daredevil. His father, a boxer, was killed due to not taking the fall in a fixed match, showing to his son, potentially indirectly, that a man stands his ground even when the odds are against him, a man of moral principle. But Matt knows this not to be true, as he recounts when his father drunkenly struck him as a boy. Seeing someone he loved do something wrong confined him to following the rules and laws so it doesn't happen again. Even the person in Matt's life who raised him was fallible, so if he is, then so is Matt, and so is everyone. It puts into question the many motives of why he's Daredevil. To enforce the law that his beacon of a father broke, to be a representation of what his father stands for, or maybe he does this to prove to all the bullies who taunted him with the name Daredevil as a sarcastic mock. But in the end, he'll never betray his morals, leaving him with Bullseye. It's depressing and dark, but also uplifting, and a tragic story on how morals can lift you above your enemies, but tear at you because you know they'll simply harm you even more. It represents the core facet of Matthew Murdock. He's a mess of a person in a world that takes away what he loves and grounds him into paste, both physically and emotionally. But the founding principles that make him want to be better, the hope that the system will work, and sheer determination to continue fighting until those hopes and principles become true, keep him in the ring to fight until he truly can't anymore.
Come on! Kill me! No! God knows I want you, but you don't get to destroy who I am. You will go back to prison, and you will live the rest of your miserable life in a cage, knowing you'll never have Vanessa. That this city rejected you. It beat you. I beat you.